Welcome to a sweltering Magny-Cours for round 7 of the GP2 series. It's been a long month without it, and now we're about to go racing again in support of the Formula One boys who've returned to Europe to do their thing, and returning with a bang here. Magny-Cours is hot, and we're not just talking about the temperatures. Long, wide straights, hard braking zones, fast flowing corners. It's always tricky, but couple that with the blistering temperatures here, and it's going to be a tyre eater. Temperatures well in excess of 30 Celsius, and a track temperature too hot to touch. Just think about that. This will be a real test of the Bridgestones. Just 0.2 of a second separate the top 5 qualifiers, and a second covers the top 14 on the grid. It will be close. It will be frustrating for the drivers. That's what Magny-Cours is always all about. But of course, the brave will triumph as ever. And what a lineup we have. Well, they may not have led a lap in 2006, but Supernova have got Lopez on pole here, and he's moved up a spot in the championship as a result. Josemaria Lopez will lead us off, and then alongside him, Timo Glock on the front row. On row 2, it's Giorgio Pantano and Lewis Hamilton, just 21 years of age and just dominating this season. We'll see how he runs here. My name's Carlton Kirby, alongside me, Gareth Rees. Gareth, this one is always a test, and today surely going to be no different.
Yeah, it's a funny place, Magny-Cours. It's not a place that's particularly popular with the drivers because it's not a great race circuit, although as we know from history, the last 18 months of GP2, that goes out the window with this series. You know, they get good racing anywhere, and here we saw a great race last year, and this was really the point last year where ART, the top team with Hamilton and Prema, their effort really crystallised. They were leading this race 1 and 2. The first race had really dominated. There was a safety car period. They blew it and ended up finishing nowhere. And that was the point. From then on, thereafter, they really became the top team. That mistake seemed to crystallise their effort. And ever since, they've been a great team. But it's hot this weekend, as you've already said. We're sort of looking at low mid-30s, and I think that is going to have a real impact on tyre strategy this weekend. Usually the pit and opens for the compulsory pit stops lap 2 onwards. Usually we see a handful of cars come in. I'd be surprised if we see many pitting out early this time, purely and simply because if you pit early, you then have to do basically 40 laps on the same set of tyres in this temperature, and that means come the last 10 laps or so, your car will be handling terribly. So I expect to see people pitting later.
So, anyone who pits early is basically verging on the suicidal. It's a long one, this one, don't forget. It's the opening race. The sprint race is only 28 laps, that's tomorrow. This is 41 in all. And although the pit window is open, the pit lane is open after just 2 laps, expect anyone bar the non-suicidal to stay out there. You need to nurse the rubber all the way around this one for as long as possible. We're going to take a short commercial break, and we'll be back at Magny-Cours in just a few moments' time. Stay with us. Welcome back to Magny-Cours. We're just about to clear the grids, and we'll be going round and having our first look today at Magny-Cours. Gareth, always very, very difficult to gauge set up here. There's Lopez on pole. He, as well as the rest of them, are going to have to do a lot of hard thinking here. Testing was in much cooler conditions. It's got very, very warm here, hasn't it? Yeah, it's a funny place, Magny-Cours. It's one of those tracks, another that springs to mind is Zandvoort in Holland, where it really changes throughout the day. The grip levels fluctuate quite badly, so you end up chasing your tail if you're not careful. And for these guys, they haven't had much track time this weekend. They basically have a half-hour free practice Friday, and also half-hour qualifying. And thereafter, that's it. There's no more track time. Now, between those 2 sessions, they run at different times of day to when the race runs. So the track at this time of day is different to how the track was when they ran yesterday. So getting a balance that works is very, very difficult. I think it was Olivier Pla went out yesterday and then set his time and just came straight back in and just concentrated on getting his setup right. Of course, he's got a bit of practice to do because, of course, he's one of our reserves this weekend. Yeah, I mean, Pla's back after breaking his wrist at Monaco. He missed Silverstone. Mike Conway stepped in for him. So Pla is back in this weekend, back in his race seat. Thank goodness for that. You know what I mean. Does anyone else? Yanni is replacing Lapierre again. Lapierre has got compression problems in his spine after An accident at Monaco, and already difficulties here. It's Pereira. Frank is stuck on the grid. We had so many problems last year, and it seems that we've banished most of them, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, definitely last year, particularly the early part of the season. I think the clutches were just on-off, simple as that, and very, very difficult to pull off from a standing start. That's been refined, as you said, over the course of the last 18 months. You don't see it that often, or generally we do see probably one a weekend, and Pereira's the one this weekend.
Well, what about that championship? We're just having a look at it there. Lewis Hamilton leads the charge of the drivers, 67 points, 22 ahead of Nelson Piquet Jr. on 45. Alex Premis sits third on 36 points, and then comes Ernesto Vizo, looking further back down amongst some of the so far also rans, and just thankfully getting himself back underway, Frank Pereira. Lewis Hamilton, he totally dominated the Euro Series last year. He came here and everyone thought, oh yeah, he's running all right, and then all of a sudden he just lit up, didn't he?
I mean, to be fair, from the word go, he was quick and competitive. But yeah, you're right. There came a point where there's a team there. There came a point where he just suddenly became the class of the field. And he's maintained that position ever since. I mean, Silverstone was just fantastic the last time out. Utterly dominant, 2 wins in 2 races.
And his second double of the season. He'd already done the same at the Nürburgring, of course, winning the sprint race. And for those of you uninitiated, the lead 8 home get reversed for the sprint tomorrow. So he had a lot of battling to do. He's going to have his work cut out here. Anybody is to battle their way through on this track. Yeah,
I mean, he's qualified 4th. He's only a couple of tenths from pole. So he's. But we've seen this before, where in qualifying, perhaps they're not quite as dominant. Yet where ART really excel, with both Hamilton and Prema, their drivers, is getting a good race setup. You rarely see them struggle in the race.
Well, nicely back, and is working in perfection. You can see the heat haze here. It really is absolutely blisteringly hot, and we're just hoping that these fellas can keep them on track, at least right at the beginning. An interesting course, to say the least, and this final jink onto the pit lane, well, it has been a test. The main area of problems seems to be down towards Adelaide and just beyond the Nürburgring. So they're all coming back to their marks here. Round 7 of GP2. Lopez is the man on pole. Sharing the front row with him is Timo Glock. Fast in the test was Glock. He likes it here. We'll see how he runs. Pantano is just behind Lopez, and don't expect anything other than full-on commitment from Lewis Hamilton right at the beginning. He shares row 2 with Pantano. Adam Carroll is just behind Lewis Hamilton on that side of the grid, and Vizo behind him. Nelson Piquet Jr. sits on the same side as Lopez and Pantano, with Alex Premat just behind him. It's quality up front, and we are about to go racing here. How long will they hold them? Not long, let's hope. The engines don't like it when they're ultra revved for too long. They've been letting them go quite quickly this year, haven't they, Gareth?
Yeah, I mean, as pole man, it's really tough. You know, you just want to get going as soon as you can.
Here we go. Let's see how they rock and roll. It's Lopez on pole. Bang, underway. Lopez, does he get a screamer? Yes, he does. He's cleanly away, and he nudges right across the track. He's going to get into the first corner nice and cleanly, and so is the rest of the field. But there's 6 wide behind him coming into this one, and already we've got a tyre dipped into some of the gravel. But a little bit further back, I think it might have been Premat. We'll get another look at that in just a moment. But a superstar from Lopez, nice and tidily away. A couple of drifters on this one, Gareth, but nothing too serious.
Yeah, Pantano's nicked second, isn't he, and knocked Glock back to third with Hamilton 4th.
So tidily away, thank goodness. They're all snaking out now. That's Lopez out front, and well, big lock-up just a little bit further back.
Oh, little touch there. That's Prema, isn't it? Tangling with Carroll, I think.
So dangerous, of course. Any contact whatsoever is going to cost. And is that a little bit of debris there?
Yeah, the debris. I think that was from Premat's car. It's white bodywork, isn't it?
I think it may well have been just a front upright from one of the wings. We're having a look now. Shortcut there, and well, he kept it clean. Nelson Piquet. He knows how to drive. Did he take an advantage? I don't think he did.
You see a replay
Let's see
here.
it coming in here.
See if you can see Prema just trying to go around there. Here we go. Prema just comes in late and just hits Carroll from behind.
Well, that's a real shame for him, but Prema, well, he'd started back there on row 4, just getting into the back of Carroll, I think it was.
Yeah, I think his team are waiting for him to come in, aren't they?
Yeah, he's going to have to come in straight away, and that's going to be a nightmare. Pits is not open for another couple of laps. I think he may leave it until 2, but if he does change tyres then, Gareth, just to try and keep his track position, he's going to have a nightmare towards the end of this.
He is, but I think that's really a better option than having to come in later again for a pit stop. It's such a long way to come in the pits, get tyres and go back out again. If you're pitting to get a new nose, get your tyres done at the same time. Although you can't do that till the pit lane opens on lap 2.
Hellish distance, and look at this jig down the inside. 2 together, just backing out of it, and did the right thing as well. Nelson Piquet just thought about it a second time. It's Lopez ahead of Pantano, Glock and Prema.
I think that's Hamilton that hit Carroll. It's not Prema, it's Hamilton. Prema's running in fourth. That's Lewis Hamilton.
Well, if it is
Carroll.
Lewis Hamilton, we'll have a look for you in just a moment. That's an absolute nightmare for him, because Lewis Hamilton so dominant. A couple of double stints, double victories, I should say, this season. And, well, we're just going to have to wait and see who it is that comes in.
It's difficult to see how much damage.
Oh, bang! And that's going to halt that corner.
That's Fauji, I think, collecting either Bruni or Zuber.
Well, we've seen an awful lot of this so far. Just on board with Olivier Pla there momentarily. Just a couple of laps deep into this one, and already action-packed. Here we go.
Yeah, just an optimistic move from Fauji, like we've seen him do time and again this year.
Oh, Fauji just coming down
just
the inside.
From nowhere.
Oh, that
I mean,
was
just nowhere.
all
just
his fault.
move.
And well, there's going to be plenty of words to be said about that, I'm afraid. Look at that.
I think Hamilton might have got away without damaging his car. His lap times at the moment, he's running pretty competitively. He's down in 6th place. He didn't get a great start, but he is keeping tabs with Carroll, so he might have got away with it.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see. Please don't be too disturbed by your clock counter at the top. I think they're finally they've woken up and pressed the button as they crossed the line. Once again, what a start there, Gareth, and already here at Magny-Cours we've said there's not a lot of room.
Hamilton's gone.
There's not a lot of room, and
he's in.
There he is, front end. You're absolutely right. Well called, Gareth.
It takes a while to change a nose too. You can see they've got to take the bonnet off and take the nose off, and it's
well, this sets up a fabulous run through, provided there's no other damage on the car. I've got a feeling that his tyres, unless he's a master at nursing them, are going to be nightmarish towards the end.
Well, they're not changing the tyres, are they? They didn't change them.
No, they're going to leave it for another stop. They're assuming they're going to come back in. It's going to be damage limitation as far as Hamilton is concerned. He's had a nightmare start here if you're only just joining us. If you come in late, more fool you. The dramatic start here. Hamilton has got front end damage. Lewis Hamilton, that is, championship leader, and he's had to come in before the regular pit stops are even beginning. And wisely, they've not changed his tyres. They'll be doing that next time around. They're concentrating on the front end, getting as much dialed into the car as they possibly can. He needs to sort himself out, and he needs to start. Well, it's Ticini just getting very, very wrong indeed as well. Yeah, just pick your way through that one. Well, he didn't, quite frankly. What a nightmare start for Lewis Hamilton, maybe championship leader, and everyone was starting to talk about this championship as if it was already over. It certainly isn't, Gareth. There's a long way to go.
It's
here.
not. I mean, Piquet is his main rival in the championship, and although Piquet actually qualified 5th this weekend, he was, I mean, the qualifying time, the lap time is split into 3 sectors, and Piquet was actually quickest in sector 1 and sector 3, quickest of all. Yet sector 2, the middle sector, he was only 12th quickest, where he lost the whole thing. So he has got speed. It's just hooking it up in sector 2. He managed that, he will be quick.
And he's just posted the fastest lap.
He's just posted the fastest lap.
Yeah, fastest lap on 6. Let's have a look at this start here, Gareth.
You see there, Hamilton was actually very slow away. That's what fooled us. We assumed he was running in 4th. It was actually Prema.
Just taking it straight into this first series of curbs here. It was there's been bumps and bruises right the way through the first lap there, Gareth, and you said it just before we went on air that there are a number of places here that...
Sorry, Glock's done Pantano. He's got past Pantano, so Glock's up to 2nd place now.
Lopez leading, Glock in 2nd place, Pantano, Prema, Viso, Piquet Jr., Yoshimoto, Di Grazzi, and if you're waiting to hear the name Hamilton, well, you're going to have to wait a long time. He's 23rd at the moment after damaging the front end early. It's a long, long run here, and I'm just wondering, Gareth, when they're going to start thinking about coming and tyre changing.
Here's a replay. Here's Glock going past Pantano.
Beautifully done as well.
Yeah, and Pantano didn't even try and defend it, did he? Left it very open.
Gave him plenty of room, and to be honest, I think with him rushing in there, he just backed out of it. I'm not going to say chickened out, but that corner has already been in view of the drivers, and they've seen problems there. Yeah,
I mean, Pantano's a tough racer. You know, he doesn't usually give up a place without fighting for it, but clearly he's not happy with his car. I mean, Glock was all over him and already has pulled away quite a bit. So let's see if Glock can put in Lopez. In fact, Glock's just done fastest lap of the race with that toe past Pantano's in a 27.6.
Well, they're on medium compounds here. A lot of questions being asked as to whether they shouldn't have gone for the hard tyre, Gareth, Bridgestone, in view of the fact the track temperature's so hot. Maybe they just didn't predict it. Well, yeah, exactly. I think the average temperature this time of year for this part of the world is about sort of 25, so it's around 10 degrees higher than was expected. With hindsight, yeah, they should have bought perhaps a harder compound, but same for everybody, just got to get on with it. Pla's on a storm, by the way. He qualified 17th, he was on the 9th row of the grid, and he's already up to 11th. That's a good charge by him.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's helped by the shenanigans we've seen at the first couple of turns there.
He knows this circuit very well, though. He ran here in the Euro Formula 3 series, and of course he's desperate to just make amends for his physical problems that he's been suffering.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, you know, I mean, just breaking a little wrist bone like that and missing Silverstone, which is doubly annoying for him because he won at Silverstone last year.
So clicking down, and we're on board with Pla here, and you're getting a fabulous view of exactly what this circuit is all about. It's extremely flat here. It's kind of the bullseye of France, bang smack in the middle of the country. There's very little going on around here. When the races aren't on, you have difficulty buying a burger. You've got to drive a long way. It doesn't take anything away from the action on the track. It is always congested at Magny-Cours, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the nature of the place. It's quite hard to overtake. As we said before, GP2 often, even on places where overtaking doesn't happen much, GP2 can get past that. But so far, we haven't seen a great deal, other than the important one was Glock going past Pantano.
Just getting a quick look at Villar running well, the Spaniard. And Viso as well. He's nailed that 5th place to himself. Glock is running extremely well at the moment. Nice and tidily up front. It seems here, if you can just get away from the mess that is these curves. Adelaide, and indeed just beyond the Nürburgring, turn 8. Piquet had his problems there as well. And there's been a number of others. Adam Carroll, he spun in qualification. It is difficult out there. Confirmation of how they are at the moment. And you can see the list of no stops. It'll be won by quite a few. I think Vila is the leader, and Amamula's already been in as well.
There's been a few. Yeah, we've had Amamula, Yanni, Piccioni. We look like we've lost Pereira. He was shown as retired, but I think he's actually not. That's a bit premature by the timing man there. He's actually back in the race, so it's just a long way down. But Glock is clearly quicker than Lopez. I mean, the last lap he was just over a 10th quicker. Lap before was about 3/10, so Glock is pulling Lopez in at the front.
Well, Amamula, he's on board with Arden. Arden been 3 times winner here at Magny-Cours. You'd think they'd be running a little bit better in qualification, but just haven't really strung it, have they?
They haven't really, and I don't think they've really got to grips with GP2 full stop. I mean, last year they ran Kovalainen. Hamilton's just banged in a very quick lap, albeit he's running down in 20th place at the moment. Yeah, I mean, he also has to do his compulsory pit stop because you have to change at least 2 tyres during the course of the race. So we saw him pit, but he only changed his nose box.
And here we are with him, actually, Gareth. Let's just stay with him for a moment. There's the timing screens that we've got up in our booth as well, and it's showing bright purple, the name Hamilton. He's just posted a 1:27.418. He's on a charge here. He's in a lot of clear track. There's not much traffic around him, and that may well play to his advantage here, Gareth.
It will do, but I mean, what's going to cost him is the fact he has to pit again.
Exactly.
That's going to, I mean, that takes you 25-30 seconds, so he's up against it. We've seen him recover from some really hard positions this year, not least Nürburgring, where he had to pit for a stop-go penalty or a drive-through penalty. This, I think, is an even bigger ask.
So positions 5 and 6 being scrapped by Viso and Piquet Jr. Now Piquet Jr. he's going to have all kinds of buzzing going on in his head at the moment. He's just got to stay focused, knowing that his nemesis and arch rival in the championship is stuck at the back here and has got to make an extra stop. He's got to keep it clean, hasn't he?
Well, obviously for him, he wants to try and someone going cross country, and it's Portiero.
Portiero, yeah.
Yeah, he just really needs to maximise the amount of points he takes this weekend. If Hamilton's not going to score, which at the moment looks quite likely, yeah, just got a bit crossed up coming out of Adelaide, I think, there, Portiero.
It's interesting what you were saying as well early on, that the bumps on approach to Adelaide just destabilising the car, and they catch the unwary, don't they?
Yeah, well, it's slippery as well. I mean, we've already seen a couple of cars overshooting, as David Sears, the Supernova team boss. Yeah, it's easy. The track is bumpy, the track is slippery, and it's easy to just miss your braking point and you just slide straight off. So, but that was a different reason. That was Portiero just getting on the gas too quick. Piquet's on his pit stop. He's coming out from his pit stop.
And Nelson Piquet just on the limiter here, coming away. It's let Lopez off the hook. He was very, very fast in the tests, was Jose Maria Lopez. At Supernova, we're expecting a lot from this weekend, and so it's proving. He's looking very quick out there. He's measured, though.
Yeah, I mean, he tends to go well at Ricard. Yeah, there's fairly regular sort of 6 monthly tests at Ricard for GP2, and Lopez always shines there. And he actually did say in the press conference yesterday he was delighted to actually carry that form into a race weekend for once and take pole. But it makes sense for Piquet to pit there. He really was boxed in behind Viso, get a new set of tyres and get out in clean air.
Well, we're going to have to take ourselves a very short commercial break. We'll be back with you just as soon as we can, live here at Magny-Cours on Eurosport. Drama early on here at Magny-Cours. Lewis Hamilton getting into the back of Adam Carroll. Hamilton not getting the start he'd hoped for, trying to make up for it early on and damage the front end. Had to come in for a new nose section. He's still got to stop twice. Effectively, well, he will stop twice. He's got his compulsory stop still to come, I beg your pardon. But at the moment, Hamilton is gunning for the top. Unfortunately, he's down in 20th place. He's moved past 3 cars since the end of
this Portero's replay again.
Yeah, just losing it, just overjuicing it off the corner, losing the back end, and getting those tyres all dirty. So still a stop for Hamilton and the rest, despite the fact he's already been in and done the front nose. And it's Villa, and that is no good at all for the man. We're looking out front, it's Lopez, and he's clearly comfortable here. Supernova may well have not led a lap at all in 2006. Well, they'll be hoping for victory now, most certainly. There's the gap, and it's a big one, almost 2 seconds back to Glock. That's comfortable.
It is, but it's come down, and that lap then, Lopez's time was a 28.8, and Glock did a 28.4, so he's pulled in about 4 tenths on that, just that one lap. So he's chipping away, and that's a big chunk, actually. 4 tenths in one lap is a big chunk.
Well, about adaptability, Timo Glock, of course, who's quick in the test here, and if there is going to be anyone there to wind him in, certainly happened in qualifying here. He was on the podium in Silverstone at his debut, and he won here in the Euro F3 Series in 2003, so he knows his way around, so we'll keep tabs on that one, naturally enough. Yoshimoto and Di Grazzi here, nice battle for 6th spot. They're starting to clump up here, Gareth, and I'm just keeping everyone informed about Hamilton. He's currently just wedged behind Pereira, and he's just about to cross the line now. He's so far down on the leaders, though. He's what is his split? How far is he?
He's nearly a minute behind Lopez. He's 56 seconds behind Lopez, so he's got his work cut out, that's for sure. Massive outside. Let's not rule it out.
Let's not rule it out. We've seen amazing things from the young man. He's come and shone in this series, and he's part of the reason why so many of you are tuning in for this one. 32 laps completed of 41. It seems like an eternity here, Gareth. It's a long, it's a lot of numbers to click down here.
Where those blokes are sat, it seems even longer. It's a hot day today, you know. It's not just the tyres that are going to be working hard today. The drivers also are going to have a hard time. I think that's Fowley's, it's not Lopez. It's Lopez.
It's Lopez coming in, yeah. It's the red 5, and this is...
In fact, Lopez, Pantano and Prema have all pitted.
I'm not surprised.
3 of the top 4.
All coming in together, keeping an eye on each other. They're going to keep it a square and straight race once they get out there. Tidily done and underway.
It's Prema. Has he jumped Lopez? Has Lopez moved?
Doesn't seem like it.
Or do we just not see it?
No, he hasn't moved yet. He's got him. Well, what about that?
So Glock is now in clear air at the front, so he needs to really get the hammer down now.
10 laps deep into this one, and we're just waiting to see where next time round Lopez meshes into this one. There's still some that haven't stopped out there. Glock's one of them, Viso, Di Grazzi and Negrão, and we'll just see where he comes when they come around here.
I'd like him to show us Lopez and see where he is. He was the leader after all.
Well, there you go. The cameras are just loving Hamilton at the moment, unfortunately, and he's busy in his own private battle. He's just moved past Portero, but he's still only in 19th place, and really I think we need to get out in front and just have, if they can possibly hear us here, Glock out in front of Viso, Di Grazzi, Negrão. Olivier Plat running in 5th spot. He's had a good run so far. Plat had a nightmare qualification down in 17th position. We've got our onboard cameras with him today, and well, he is climbing. He was climbing certainly before that, and he's currently ranked in 9th spot, but we'll see how he is once he actually finally makes his stop. I don't think Plat has actually made his stop yet. No, he hasn't. And a straight on it into the gravel.
Yes, Portero again, yeah. A nightmare of a weekend.
Well, the trouble is, Gareth, once mentally you let it go, it's not just about that.
Sorry to put in, Glock and Viso are shown as red, which means they've pitted. Now, Glock and Viso are teammates at Iceport. You cannot cope, the teams cannot cope with 2 cars in the pits at once.
Well, I just wonder if they've accidentally called them in together. Or somebody's missed.
They were only running about 10 seconds apart, so
clearly somebody's misheard then. Already out is Glock, and Viso's come in the pit. I think it was possibly, Gareth, that they were entering and exiting just at the same time. Glock and Viso now both out as well, but they weren't exactly at the same time. They were tight, though, I have to say. Very tight indeed.
And looking at Lopez, he has fallen behind Prema and Pantano, so Lopez had a disastrous pit stop.
Well, it looked like he was being held up for an awful long time.
Well, he was 5 seconds clear of those two, and he's come out and he's now running 3 seconds, 2 seconds behind Pantano.
Well, that's a real shame, particularly for Supernova, who, well, maybe it's just us that were talking him up. They just haven't had it this year, and it seems to be going on. Those who've stopped once are being led by Glock for the time being, with Piquet Jr. The virtual second place, or in fact the second place. The virtual leader is Di Grazzi at the moment, but will come in. All of those have stopped. Amamula has made a couple, and I wouldn't be surprised if Hamilton pops in fairly shortly here, just to get his tyres done and dusted so he can race it proper.
Yeah, well, as it stands, he's still not being, he's still in clear air, so he may as well just make the most of being out there in clear air, to be honest with you. That's Prema you're looking at on the screen there.
Prema just having a look down on the inside, only 29 to go. They're clicking away thick and fast here in tremendous temperatures. We were just telling you they were over 30 Celsius, the air temperature. Track temperature much worse than that. We were expecting these tyres to be eaten up. Quite surprised that some of them came in so early. We weren't predicting that at all. The rest have left it to sort of the comfort zone around 15 lap mark. Big look down the inside, a little lock-up as well. We're on board with Olivier Pla. Fabulous view of the grandstands here, and everyone's staying and enjoying this one. De Grau, Pla and Glock all locked together, and Piquet Jr. just having a look behind them.
So Glock just nipped at the inside of Pla there, which, I mean, isn't really for position because Pla hasn't pitted yet. Both Glock and Piquet have. So once it all shakes out, we're going to have Glock as our leader.
Piquet Jr. having a look in the 11 car as well, on board here with Pla. Pla still to stop, so is Di Grazzi and Negrão. They're the 1, 2, 3, with Di Grazzi leading Negrão and Pla for now, but still have to make their stop. Glock, I just wonder why he put so much into that one then, Gareth.
Well, he can open the gap to Piquet, you see. Piquet has stopped, so really what we're looking at here is Glock.
Track,
yeah, he's basically got a car between them that, although he's still in position on the track, has yet to stop the tyres, and therefore is probably a bit slower.
And you can see the frustration.
Pantano's a lunge at Piquet, he's hit him.
You can see the frustration starting to come right there, Gareth. And Pla just dinks in. And that looked like Piquet Jr. just getting it very, very wrong there. We'll have a look at that in just a moment.
Well, I think he got held up. I mean, Pla was coming ego. It's actually Prema. Glock slows down because he's pitting. And Prema sticks his nose up the inside.
Well. To my mind, that looked like it was Piquet Jr.'s fault, but there you go. You know better than that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's his fault. I think he just got caught napping a bit, really. I think he should have been doing what Glock did and getting Pla out the way, get past him and get a move on. The
international hand signal of a sigh there, I think. Let's have a look at this perfect view from on board.
I think Piquet was just dozing. Piquet was just asleep.
I think they're both okay, though, thank goodness.
Yeah, I don't think there's any damage, but I do think Piquet was just asleep there. I think Prema did well to take advantage of that.
Well, that may well have woken him up big time, because Piquet Jr. has got a lot to think about here. He's got to bring this car home. He's got to get a decent amount of points. Don't forget, he trails 22 to Hamilton, who's having a nightmare here. A nightmare start for him. He's currently running in 19th place after damaging the front nose section and having to come in. And Hamilton has made his stop and will now try and run for home, but he's got an awful lot of cars in front of him. Di Grazzi then still our leader ahead of Negrão, but both have to stop. It's Glock that is the real leader ahead of Prema and Piquet Jr., who've just been into each other and had something of a knock to wake them both up. Let's just hope they can keep it sensible for this run for home, then.
Well, the beauty for Glock there was that his two main rivals for the win today both tangled with each other. So the lap times, I mean, Glock was over a second quicker the last lap than Prema.
And just look at the speeds they're carrying into the corners here. What exactly, for those at home, does a 127 mean round here in terms of kilometres or miles per hour?
That's a very good question, Colin, and I couldn't tell you without having to dig out the paperwork. Thanks for asking that.
Do
you know, as a driver, I don't think drivers ever bother with the sort of average speed of the lap. You know, it's just time that counts. That's all you're chasing is time.
Quite right, too. Di Grazzi is the man out front, but he still has to stop. So does Negrão. One compulsory stop. Don't forget, you only have to change 2 tyres, but I think anyone who changed just 2 would be absolutely bonkers here.
I mean, well, 2 is, I mean, because of the size of the pit crew, you can't really do you can't do more than 2. I mean, you can do, there's nothing to stop you doing it, and also you would benefit in terms of grip, but it's the time issue. Changing 4 tyres, there isn't enough people on the team to do it. So
but for those who came in early, the 4 tyres,
no, it would shake out. You rarely see them change more than 2 tyres, because it just isn't worth the time spent sat stationary.
Well, there you go. Gareth Rees, who's done an awful lot more of this season than, than I have, clearly. Martin Haven absent this weekend, but will be with you for the remainder of the season. I'm sure you'll be absolutely delighted to know. 26 laps remaining of the 41 here. And in terms of just approaching the halfway mark, I think some of these are going to be very, very pleased that this one's out and away. Will Hamilton be trying to get to that 8th spot to spin round tomorrow and lead off? Is it possible?
I think that has to be his target, doesn't it, today? Because I think any more than that is going to be a big ask. As we've already said a few times, he still has to pit the tyres, the compulsory tyre pit stop. So I think any more than heading for 8th is a big ask. If you can get 8th, great. You start from pole position tomorrow, and I think that has to be his target.
Sprint race, of course, not quite so many points available as in the main race here. Just 6 for the winner, but I think Hamilton will take as many as he can possibly get. Big look-see there. Backing out of it, Pantano and Lopez positions. Well, they had it 6 and 7, I think, and they had 7 and 8. Pantano running in 8th place, just behind Hernandez for the time being. I mean, he's a young man, Hamilton. He's got a lot of experience already, however. But he just didn't get the launch properly, did he, today? No,
I mean, he hasn't been a great starter this year. I mean, these cars aren't that easy to get off the line cleanly, and Lewis has struggled a few times. And I think you were right, what you said, where he basically tried to make amends in the space of 2 corners. Adam Carroll looked fairly innocent. He basically was just sat on the apex and minding his own business, and Hamilton hit him from behind. So I think Hamilton's fault. You know, he's had a great season so far. First mistake of the year so far. I think we can let him off.
I think we can. A lot of self-belief for the young man, and hardly surprising he's featuring so much on covers of Autosport and that kind of thing. And when was the last time a GP2 series driver actually made it mid-season?
That's right. It's great for the series, actually. It really is. As is the performance of Rosberg in F1 this year, as is the reputation of Kovalainen, who was runner-up last year. Just a replay of Lopez getting very close to Pantano. I mean, you know, going back to the sort of press he's getting, he's now been linked with the semi-vacant McLaren seat to take Montoya's place.
Yeah, poor old Gary Paffett must be wondering what on earth he can do to get a drive.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously has been linked with it quite closely as well, but I think the man with the momentum behind him is Hamilton, no question.
Yeah, he really is the star turn, but not today. Currently running in 17th place, in case you're interested. He's got a lot to do to get up to 8th if he's going to make the pole for tomorrow's sprint race. 25 laps deep into this one at Magny-Cours. The GP2 series finally racing again. It's been a long hiatus of a month while the Formula 1 boys were out across the pond. Finally, they came back. And it's just great to get racing once again. What does it do to drivers? I'm just wondering whether it really does mark, when you have such a gap, whether it does actually mark a different tempo in terms of the season. We're just looking at Hamilton there, running, whoa, look at that, firing them up. Well, it just shows you the quality of those who are just in front of him. And it's the 20 car of Olivier Pla, who he's now chasing down. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think this is the point where Hamilton maybe has to think about coming in for his tyres, because he's going to be stuck behind Pla. Pla is going quick enough to give Hamilton a problem, I think.
Well, yes, and Pla is quality, and as soon as you start moving up through the field, if you've still got to stop, you may as well get it out of the way and start giving yourself a bit of clear track, and he certainly looks like he needs it now, because Olivier Pla's not an easy man to get.
No, that's what I mean. I mean, he's a decent racer, and he's been quick or reasonably quick this weekend. I mean, not super quick, but enough to cause Hamilton some difficulties, I think.
Well, Hamilton, incidentally, didn't score any points here in the Euro F3, and that's interesting, isn't it? It's not his favourite circuit, you know, not happiest here, and certainly has looked uncomfortable so far.
A big, how much quicker he is there.
Look how much he's closing the gap, exactly. Just chasing his man down into the corner.
You could
not
see,
an overtaking opportunity, but nonetheless,
no, but
it
lines up for Adelaide. The important thing is you get off that curve very quickly for Adelaide, but unfortunately you could see Hamilton had to come out of the throttle. Pla was so slow through the second part of the turn.
Has a look one way, he's going to try and switch on the inside here. Has a look down the inside of Pla, just can't juice it quickly enough, and I think he needs tyres. I think he needs time.
Yeah, it's difficult there. It really is. It's you really need to get the car in front on more on the back foot than he was able to get Pla there. But the key is getting quick through turn 2. And he was quick, but too quick, because he just ended up almost collecting Pla.
And don't forget, Pla is on fresher tyres. Hamilton may well have stopped, but he had to stop to change a front nose very early on the first lap. Pit lane wasn't open for changes until lap 2. He's still got to come in and make that tyre change. So it'll be 2 stops for Hamilton in this one instead of the compulsory 1. And, well, he's got his work cut out, and clearly he's on the drift here. He's going to have to come in soon, Gareth. Trouble is in his mind, he's got to start building up and passing all those cars he's just been by.
That's the problem, but you've got to accept it. Just nothing you can do about it. Just get on with it.
It's actually going to be even worse than that, because when he does come in and come back out again, he's going to be amongst the leaders. And that's going to be very, very difficult to start moving through. Di Grazzi is the man out front, but he hasn't stopped. Glock is the real leader, the number 8 car, when you finally see it. But we're spending an awful lot of time here with Lewis Hamilton, whose challenge, for the time being at least, is on the wane. I think the cameras need to get out front with our leaders, who are having a real ding-dong battle. Glock, Prema, Piquet Jr., Lopez, Negral and Yoshimoto, who's also in the party here. And I think Lewis is just going to have to start thinking about coming in fairly sharp.
He's fortunate at the moment that Piquet is running.
He's not finding a way by these boys.
No, he's not. I think it's a big old lock-up, isn't it, from Piquet? It's not what you want to be doing to your tyres, not at this stage of the race. And
beautifully there in the slow-mo, and strangely as well, breaking such a long way out so harshly, and you can just see on the slow-mo on those tyres there, massive spot on them.
Yeah.
And you can take them right down to the cloth stuff if you hit it that hard.
Yeah, that's not too clever. He's got a long way to go, more than half the race to go on those tyres, so you've got to look after them better than that.
Little jink onto the start, finish straight once again. They're using every single bit of this, aren't they, Gareth?
Yeah, you get out right to the pit, the grandstand wall there, just shave it as close as you can. Remember Senna hit that wall in qualifying a few years ago.
22 laps remaining of the 41. Glock leading Prema now, with Piquet Jr. in 4th place and Pantano. But Piquet Jr. is having all kinds of problems. He's cut himself loose from the rest of them, and it's by his own errors here, Gareth.
It seems to be. He certainly is dropping away and not showing the pace he showed in qualifying yesterday, isn't he? Nicolas Lapierre, who's still out this weekend with his damaged vertebrae, should be back by Hockenheim, back into the Arden seat.
Just looking at Piquet Jr., he's been second on fastest laps on 4 occasions, so he can do it when he wants to. Maybe he was just giving himself a bit of space because there was space within the traffic to actually just set himself up for the fastest lap.
I think he's pushing hard, isn't he, to try and catch up with Glock and Prema, who are ahead of him, and he needs to capitalise on Hamilton not scoring this weekend. But I think he just slightly overcooked. He just missed his braking point, trying to find a bit of time. Like I said, it is bumpy there, it is slippery there, and it's easy to just lock a wheel and slide wide. There
were accusations that having 2 points for the fastest lap did make the field spread out just a little bit, so that they all were giving themselves a chance to actually pitch for the fastest lap. I just wonder whether Piquet Jr. was doing that.
Not yet. I wouldn't say he'd be doing that from what is effectively 3rd place. He's 4th on the road at the moment. It's Hamilton doing the same thing.
Yeah, going an awful long way wide there, and just couldn't get the switchback that he wanted. His tyres are just about gone, I would have thought. He's been out there now for, well, all of those 20 laps. He's going to have fresher rubber towards the end, and maybe that's what he's starting to think. But once he makes his real stop for tyres, he's already been in once, as we've already told you. Once he makes that real stop, he's going to be coming back amongst the leaders, and none of those are going to want to cede any kind of position. It's going to be a real uphill battle for him, most certainly. Nelson Piquet Jr. has been second on the fastest lap table 4 times. You don't get anything for second place on the fastest laps. But, well, maybe he was hoping to break that duck. But as you saw just a few moments ago, locked up flat-spotted and has done himself no favours at all. He's now in 4th place behind Prema. Glock is our virtual leader, with our leader, I should say. Di Grazzi is leading on course at the moment, but still has to stop remarkably. He's holding it together well, but has started to go off. His time's now 1.2 seconds. I think he might be on an approach lap here. 1.2 seconds slower than Glock. It just shows you the gap that can be built up here. Olivier Plat on board and looking at Hamilton on yet another charge, trying to find his way through, but I just don't think he's got the rubber to do it. Look at him.
No, clearly he hasn't, is he? As he certainly isn't as dominant pace-wise as he has been in recent weekends. But I think you might be right. Maybe they are saving the pit stop until towards the end of the race, when everyone else is on really bad rubber. But he's losing so much time stuck behind Plough. I would have thought now was the time to get in, unless you and I have made a mistake and he did get tyres during that pit stop. Not impossible.
Well, we didn't see it, but I don't think it was open at the time. Looking at Lewis Hamilton trapped behind Olivier Plat here and trying to battle his way through. Well, we'll find out fairly shortly, I imagine, whether he did indeed get those tyres or did he not when he was actually in getting a new nose section. Unfortunately, you may well have spotted it, Gareth, because I can't understand why he's not coming in right now.
It doesn't make sense.
You see, I couldn't. It's 2 laps before you're allowed to come in.
That's right.
It was on the first lap.
That's right.
So
that's right.
He wouldn't have been allowed to change those tyres.
Here he is. Now he's closer. Now he's closer.
Come on, let's have a look at this then.
Oh, he's got a good toe on the outside. He's on the wrong side of the track there.
He's on the wrong side of the track, and he's not going to get away from him here because he just hasn't got the traction there.
But he thought about it through turn 2 much better. He left a bit of a gap and was able to carry much more speed through the second part of turn 2, which meant he was much quicker onto the back straight and got a good slipstream. That's what he needs to do to try and make the pass stick.
Well, it's great driver craft, but his tyres, whatever you say, whether he changed the tyres or not, and I don't think he has, Pla's tyres are 15 laps lower.
Younger, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
In terms of wear, and it's just telling at every single challenge that he's making here, he's just able to get the escape going much better and hold the title line through the curves. Yeah,
we're so used to seeing Hamilton just sigh through the field, aren't we? And he's lost a bit of time there, Hamilton. Lost a lot of time.
He certainly did. It just looked like he lost the back end momentarily coming off it. I don't know whether he was spinning the back wheels. But, yeah, he's going to have to think of something here. He's going to need to freshen up before he starts. He's still posting that challenge, Gareth.
That's why I said what I said. I'm worried that we didn't miss him change his tyres. I'm sure he didn't. I'm sure they just changed the nose cone, but
no, I don't think he has. But there you go. What do I know? Di Grassi out front, but he has to stop. You see, Di Grassi's still holding it together, but he's lapping around about. He has been on occasion a second because of traffic, presumably, slower than Glock. But that gap on the last lap, around about 0.6, 0.8 of a second.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really see what Di Grassi is achieving by staying out.
I think it's one for the publicity machine. They'll be taking the pictures of him at the front and taking pictures of the
when that
leaderboard.
Shakes out, he's going to lose about 25 seconds or so. He's going to be right on the edge of the points.
He might be out with these boys battling for 16th place on board with Olivier Pla here. And, well, after having what was a great start, Olivier Pla, who qualified 17th, has kind of drifted back here. There's been a few errors from a lot of drivers, and Lewis Hamilton, well, guilty of that as well. Just looking at Nelson Piquet, he's holding a solid 4th here, but Pantano is starting to challenge him.
Yeah, I mean, Pantano is quite some way back, actually. He's certainly not going to be causing a problem for Piquet, other than Piquet looking at the gap on his lapboard on his pitboard to see Pantano just pulling him in slightly, but Pantano's still a good sort of 8 seconds back, so I don't think it'll be a worry for him.
Interesting to see whether who it is out of Premat, Piquet and Glock, the main chasers in this one. Just who it is that strings this one together. I just fancy that Premat has got something in.
Yeah, he certainly has been pulling Glock in just very slowly. And I don't think that's because Glock is getting caught behind Di Grassi. I don't think he's quite close enough to Di Grassi for Di Grassi to cause a problem. I think Premat's just, at this stage of the race, just a bit quicker than Glock is.
There's the split for you, 1.867. We'll keep an eye on that one for you. Looks like he's just starting to wind him in. There is our leader, but still has to stop, and to be quite honest, he may as well do it fairly sharply.
Well, Glock certainly will be hoping that.
Yes,
I mean, Glock will be not wanting. Glock is quicker, no question. Glock is quicker because he's on better rubber, and he's been quicker all weekend anyway. But what he doesn't want is to get caught behind Di Grassi, who's going to hold him up just as Pla is holding Hamilton up. And there's not much you can do to get past a car that is just only a little bit slower than you are.
Well, there's a lot on board in a driver's head about belief here, and Timo Glock has been a winner in another, albeit in another series. And look at the gap now between Pla and Hamilton. It's stretched out to almost the second mark. And, well, things looking a little bit desperate for the championship leader, who just messed it up, in case you're only just joining us, right at the beginning. He got into Adam Carroll after a bad start. Carroll went by him, and Hamilton nudging into him and requiring nose surgery.
He's fortunate that he's got a big buffer at the top of the championship. I mean, the points gap at the start of this race was 21 points, so he's got a nice big gap, so he can afford the occasional slip-up, particularly when Piquet, his main rival, is only going to score to 3rd place.
Glock just having a look down on the inside of Di Grassi. He just wants to get this party over and done with. He needs to get by him in order to escape the clutches of Premat, who's starting to watch this one with
Di Grassi's coming in now. This is Di Grassi ready for his pit stop.
Well, the 23 crew waiting for him.
That'll please Glock.
Yes, it certainly will.
He's done him anyway. He's gone past.
Thank you very much. As if to prove the point, and I imagine he'll just come straight in now that his little game has been rumbled. And let's just see how quickly Glock pulls away from Premat. Premat,
if he does,
sharing a team with the golden boy of the series, Lewis Hamilton. For him, victory here would be so sweet, wouldn't it?
It would certainly get
a bit of friction between them. You saw it at Silverstone. Little handshakes, and I think crushed knuckles going on in those handshakes as well.
They've kept it well hidden, actually. They've not made it overtly obvious that there's been friction, but there has been friction. So
1 and 3 in the championship. Premat still got a championship challenge to pose here, and any kind of whiff of favouritism within a team, and it's bound to happen when you've got somebody as clearly dominant as he has been this season as Lewis Hamilton. It's going to rile someone as skilled and as capable as Alexander Premat.
Yeah, I mean, the difficulty with Premat is this is his second year in the category. It's Hamilton's first, and I think most people expected Premat to be quicker than he has been. I think he's been a bit shocked at Hamilton's pace. You're always judged against your teammate, first and foremost, and his teammate's been quicker. He's out-qualified him in 7 races. He's out-qualified him 6 times, Hamilton. So I think he does need a good result like this to really get back on track mentally and attack the second half of the season with a positive outlook.
This is shaping up to be a terrific battle.
It is, yeah.
These two. Glock's off the leash, and look at him using all of the track as finally Hamilton gets past Plough, makes a mistake, drifts wide, but Hamilton needed that mistake from Plough, it has to be said, in order to get through. And where is Hamilton now? 16th spot.
Well, yeah, 4 seconds down the road from Hernandez in 15th.
So he's got to make up a position a lap if he's going to make that 8th place. The top 8 finishers are reversed for the sprint race tomorrow. Can't see it happening. There you go. He's going to be midfield. It's going to be one heck of a charge from Lewis Hamilton tomorrow. We're going to have to take ourselves a short commercial break as we look at the championship leader now, running here as he does in 16th place. We haven't said that very often this season. So we're going to take that short commercial break now. We'll be back in just a few moments' time with the leaders. Welcome back. It's Timo Glock who leads ahead of Premat, teammate of Lewis Hamilton, who's struggling in 16th place for the time being. Only 15 laps remaining here at Magny-Cours, and the tyres are starting to go off for those who'd stopped a little bit early. That's Pantano just locking up there. He's in 4th place, being chased down by Lopez and De Grau just behind him. Di Grazzi and Yoshimoto not out of this one yet at all either. Those are the top 8. Monfardini, Yanni and Viso, the nearest to them, with Amamula and Piccioni. Wait a long time before you hear the name Lewis Hamilton. He's down in 16th place, just behind Valles and Hernandez for now. He's just got by Olivier Pla, but a huge ask for him because of his mess of the first, basically getting off the grid. Now, we're just wondering to ourselves whether he actually did change the tyres, and whether the long stop, you can't change tyres until 2 laps have been completed, and we're just wondering whether 2 laps completed by the leader, did they jack him up and change those tyres and send him back out with a pat on the helmet after the leader crossed the line for the second time?
Well, let's clarify. We didn't see tyres get changed.
We didn't.
We are thinking maybe he did, because why on earth would he stay out so long as he has now? Surely you'd have pitted by now for tyres. Pantano's getting monster.
Oh, he certainly is, and he's taken a straight, and why not? But he's held position, and wondering what they're going to have to say about that. Lopez is really harrying him here, hassling him, and he's doing a great job of destabilising him, at least mentally. Yeah,
I mean, Pantano, to be fair, he's had great qualifying pace. His race pace this weekend has been pretty poor, and he has struggled to keep cars behind him.
Super action here at Magny-Cours. They're strung out. Oh, and a big lockup. Absolutely huge. Probably a stripe of about 70 metres there. Amazing. He's just got one heck of a flat spot now.
Well, the more he does that, the harder it's going to get. Yeah, the harder it'll get. You know, the handling will just get worse and worse, and Lopez will just capitalise eventually, I'm sure.
Well, Lopez has done exactly the right thing, harrying his man into an error. As soon as your tyres do get flat spotted, the rumble through the steering column is absolutely tremendous, and you just can't pick it out when you're starting to try and find your spots on the entry to corners, can you?
Yeah, well, it just it's a sort of cliche, but it turns the tyre like a 50p piece. It just makes it like so bumpy and uneven, and it does ruin the handling.
Pantano and Lopez tight in on each other. It's the battle for 4th place. It looks like Glock's going to run with this one. He's looking comfortable, and he's still lap by lap now starting to pull away from Premat. Gap between the two of them around about 0.1 of a second, but enough to pose a problem to Premat, who really would love to win this one here. it would be a huge feather in his cap. Of course, he did win in Spain. Since then, and before and after, it's all been about his teammate. We're on board with Negrão. Super view here, Gareth.
It is good in car footage, isn't it?
13 laps remaining. Unlucky for some, perhaps. We'll just have to wait and see, because this little battle here, this skirmish, is going to go right to the end, it seems. There's a lot of harrying going on, a lot of mistakes being forced. I was just waiting for another one there from Pantano, but he handled that well.
Yeah, he just needs to really make sure, the important turn is to make sure you're fast onto the back straight. You know, because that means that the one obvious overtaking place into the Adelaide hairpin is then covered. Everywhere else, just drive a nice wide car, you know, brake really early, get on the power early, and just control the guy behind you.
Well, there are some tremendous high-speed sections here, and a lot of braking required, particularly to get down to take Adelaide as a for instance, and then the same at Chateau d'Eau, not quite the same. The complex de Lycée as well is a similar corner. You've got a lot of speed to shed, and in so doing, it's so easy to lock up. We've seen that a couple of times from Pantano here as Lopez has a look at him, and 1.6 the gap between these two and Negrão.
Of course, in all the excitement surrounding Hamilton's recovery, we've forgotten poor old Adam Carroll, who was the innocent party in all that, who's running down in 21st place, still running, but running way down.
Yeah, it's a shame, because Adam got a super start here as well, got in front of Lewis, and we think it might well have been just his eagerness to make up for his mistakes that caused Lewis to get into the back of Adam, and cause that problem, or the side, I should say. Look at this. This is very tight, Gareth.
Yeah, Lopez is trying all the tricks, isn't he? But there's not an awful lot of grip offline where he had looked in, so it's never really going to work.
Love to know what Amamula's problem was. He was one of the spinners here. There was quite a few as well, and Carroll himself spun during qualification, but led in free practice and had a quick machine, and it just shows you, Gareth, he must have had difficulties post-incident. We know he's better than 21st position.
Yeah, well, Hamilton clobbered him pretty hard.
It's a real shame, because Adam Carroll was looking very good here. He had the car and had the confidence to do up.
Yeah, it may be that some damage has been done to his rear floor, which would upset the aerodynamic balance, or even the rear wing has been damaged, which would have the same effect. So it's the last thing you need here. There's too many fast corners here to manage without a floor or wing that's working for you.
Long, deep curve. There's a few here that are absolutely beautiful. Estoril is an absolute monster, isn't it?
It's a tough corner, it really is. I mean, it's a real fine line to get it right, and if you get it wrong, you can easily understeer off mid-corner, or even on the exit. If you just run wide on the exit, the curves just suck you in, and you're off into the barrier before you know it.
I did wonder why Lopez is just not nailing him here, because Pantano is being harried. They're very tight together, as you can see. There's the split for you, just 0.389. And there's the gap on Negrão, starting to close. Now another big lock-up, and Lopez, surely these... a driver doesn't need to be asked twice, does he?
David Seale on the radio to his driver. No, I mean, you know, Lopez is quicker, but it's so difficult. You know, you've got to be quick in the real key part of the circuit, and I don't think he is. He's never really been close enough to have a nibble at Pantano down into the Adelaide hairpin. Here, he's much quicker here, Lopez. Doesn't matter, he can't do anything here. You know, Pantano is quite comfortable for Lopez to be fast there. It's safe. What matters is on the back straight down to the hairpin.
Well, we'll see it next time by and see if he gets him. I'll have a look.
Now he's done it.
Thank you very much. And just watch the gap just expand here between these two. 3 car lengths, 4 car lengths, 5 car lengths. That's how he's pulling away very quickly here. And suddenly he's on a mission, is Lopez. A solid 4th position at the moment, and finally well won. It paid off for him, but you can see just how difficult it is to move back by quality here, and that's why Lewis Hamilton is stuck in 16th place in this one.
Yeah, I mean, Pantano is a very experienced driver, been around a long time, and he knows how to drive a defensive race.
So 10 laps remaining, and as Lewis Hamilton hasn't been in again, we can only assume that maybe he did take that.
Well, we'll see.
So Glock out front, and what a lead he's got over Prema and the rest of them.
Well, he's increased it to 2.5 seconds now, and he has been eking away the last few laps. I mean, the last lap actually was a big difference. 28.7 for Glock, 29.3 for Prema, so 0.6 in the space of 1 lap. So that was probably a mistake or traffic for Prema.
Unfamiliar territory for Lewis Hamilton. There he is out in front of Olivier Pla. We're on board with Olivier Pla now, looking at the back end of Lewis Hamilton. Well, if he did change his tyres and he doesn't have to stop, and sorry, our apologies for the confusion about that. We can only think that if he had changed his tyres when the front nose was put on, it was because the leaders had actually managed to complete the 2 laps that are required before the pit lane opens, and maybe they stuck the rubber on then. We didn't see it. 9 laps into this one, we were expecting Hamilton to have to stop again, but well, we're staying with him for the time being and on board with Olivier Pla and looking at him. You'd expect both of these drivers to be higher up the order. Same can be said for Adam Carroll, who is running around the 1:29.5. He's running reasonably quickly compared to those ahead of him, it has to be said at the moment, but he's obviously had his problems.
He has, and not his fault, I think. I think they're probably suffering from damage caused. A big lock-up from Pantano. Damage caused when Hamilton hit him. But what I would have expected, I mean, I don't expect Pla to be much higher than he is. He's one of those drivers who's either really quick or nowhere, and this weekend he's been pretty much nowhere. I would have expected Hamilton to pull away more than he has. I mean, basically, he's got past Pla, and the gap is stuck at sort of half a second.
I just thought Olivier Pla, knowing this circuit as well as he does, he lives locally, he's Euro F3 series, he did a lot of work here.
Don't forget he's been out, he missed Silverstone, and also he missed the Ricard test with his broken wrist, so he's not had any track time for a month, so perhaps not a big surprise that he's a little bit further down the grid, but I would expect Hamilton to pull away quicker.
Well, just look at the gap between Prema and Piquet Jr. 11.3 seconds. Negrau's now starting to fancy Pantano as well. Another one to be wound in. But the field has, well, it's nicely spaced as far as safety is concerned, but it's not exactly challenging, is it?
Yeah, I think the interest now will be probably Pantano and Negrau down in 5th and 6th place. We're on board with Negrau, actually, yeah, we're on board with Negrau now.
Just 0.7 is the gap between these two. The sprint race is going to be absolutely fascinating, with Glock having to charge his way through and Prema presumably fancying having a go to get through, to battle his way back. But that little bubble area that you were talking about, around about 8th place, Lopez, Monfardini, Yoshimoto and Yanni, I just wonder where that's going to be a little battle.
Lopez, hang on a minute, Lopez is dropping down the order.
He is, he's on the way. Well,
we haven't seen why, but he's dropping down the time chart as we speak.
13th, I think he's stopped by the way that everyone is going by him at the moment. And I think we're trying to find him. I think that was a camera trying to find Lopez at the moment. He is on the tumble.
Hang on, he's showing us 4th now, so that either he has gone off or the timing screen has thrown a wobbly. I think because he's reappeared in 4th.
Well, let's just wait and see. Maybe he. Maybe his
love technology.
Maybe his little timing device, maybe the little transponder had actually fallen off. It's happened before. There you go. 7 laps remaining for the leaders as Glock comes across the line once again. Further down the field is where the action is happening for the time being, and unfortunately for those further behind, it's not much of a party, and one of those is Lewis Hamilton. We're on board with Negrau right now, having a look at Pantano in front of him, and Lopez has miraculously reappeared.
Yeah, it's just a technical glitch, I think we can put that down.
Well, I think everyone was looking for him as soon as they saw the timing screens, even the cameraman there. They suddenly switched. Is he in the car park? No, he's still on track, according to our timing screens. We'll watch him as he comes by next time around. 7 to go in this one.
He's now showing us 7th. I think we'll ignore the timing screen for now until it sorts itself out.
We will. We'll try and get back to you as quickly as we possibly can on that. Stunning conditions here, Gareth, and things just starting to cool down just a little bit, and that's going to affect the balance of the vehicle as well.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I think we're sat in air-conditioned comfort here, Carlton. I think nice. You'll find that this part of the day is pretty hot. You know, it's one of the hottest parts of the day here. So,
well, it's 5 to 5 French time, Central European time. Some of the heat just starting to ebb away, but we were into the mid-30s here, and it was absolutely punishing earlier on.
Yeah. I mean, for these guys particularly, you know, it's a long, hard afternoon's work.
A lot of weight shed by them, and of course the vehicles here. It's been a long time since any of them have been back in the pits.
This is
I imagine just as we start to rattle over the curbs here, it is indeed.
Visa behind Yanni and Yoshimoto.
Whoa, look at that. Do you know, for a moment there, I thought he'd actually punctured. That was huge, just on the one side.
Yeah, so what happens there is you're turning into the corner as you're hard on the brakes. So basically the front left is going slightly light. It doesn't take much in one of these things for a lock-up to be encouraged. You just got the weight transfer on that front right corner, means the front left is light.
You have to say Bridgestone got it absolutely right this weekend. They went for a medium compound that seems to have held together beautifully. We're just looking at Neil Yarni in action there. It's held together beautifully, medium compound. They got it right.
Yeah, it seems to be. I think the lap times have remained reasonably consistent, perhaps dropped off a little bit more than we would expect these last few laps. We're down in the sort of 30s for the most part, 29s or high 29s for the leaders, the 2 leaders.
So we finally decided to switch to that battle for a spot on the top row of the grid. Yoshimoto, incidentally, has just gone in. Just look at the strain through the corners of the tyres. Just look at the left-hand tyre. Just look at the tyre wall starting to destabilise. Well. Unbelievable. Slewing as it does. Just buckling through the corners, through the turns as we eke out the final 6 laps of this one. Yes, Yoshimoto and Monfardini are swapping places, and once again that focus moves. It's nice to have a midfield interest, Gareth, with this format.
I think that's one of the reasons why they introduced that regulation. You know, basically the car in 8th place at the end of the first race starts from pole tomorrow.
Well, the rubber doesn't look too happy, but he held on there. Just the tyre wall starting to rock and roll through it. You see it again and again, but towards the end of the race, well, it's going to be fascinating to see whether they actually hold it together here. Magny-Cours has provided us once again with an interesting one. So Glock, Premat, Piquet Jr., Lopez, Pantano, Negrão and Di Grazzi with Monfardini in 8th spot. He's just moved past Yoshimoto once again. There's a little battle going on between those guys down at the 8th spot. Here is Yoshimoto as if by magic. Yarni and Viso also involved in this one. They've got a little gap between themselves and Monfardini now, Gareth, who's in 8th spot. They've not only got to sort themselves out here, but they've got to get by him as well. Yeah,
they're going to need a retirement in the top 8, aren't they, to get a chance to get in pole for tomorrow.
They're clearly thinking about it, though.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they want to try and get into 9th place, because if someone does drop out, then they're in the driving seat. But it's relies on someone else's mistake, unfortunately for them.
Yarni in the 4 car there, and Yoshimoto ahead of him, but significantly Viso all over the back of him. And
is Piquet Lopez.
That's the battle for the 3rd spot.
Yeah.
Podium position up for grabs. And it'd be nice to stay with this for just a little while. Piquet Jr., he's had his lockups here.
Lopez has done well to catch him, actually, isn't he? I mean, he's dropped.
Oh, and he's got him.
Pantano like a stone.
Has he? Lovely stripe on that one through the sequence, and they held it side by side.
Good move, yeah, good move.
Goodness gracious, that took a lot of guts there.
It did. I mean, to be fair to both of them, they gave each other room there and didn't make contact. So that was a great clean move, actually. But Lopez has done very well. He's dropped Pantano by 8 seconds in the space of about 5 laps.
Super job. Well, Lopez was very quick in the tests, and well, Supernova will be pleased with his performance. I think they probably expected an awful lot more. What on earth went wrong with his pit stop?
Yeah, that we didn't see it, did we?
Yeah.
All we saw was he didn't move, but didn't show why.
Didn't move, didn't show why. We'll find out.
He's done well to recover it, but it has cost him 2nd place, no question. He was boxed in behind Pantano for so long.
Well, it's a real shame. It's a shame for Supernova as well, and an outfit that's been at this level of motorsport for a long time, and if it is, you know, crew error, well, maybe they should know better. Maybe the moment just took...
Let's not speculate. That's a dangerous thing to do.
Absolutely, we're not...
You never know, he might have stalled it. You can't say what happened.
We just don't know, but we'll find out for tomorrow and the sprint race for you. With 4 remaining here, look at this move. Absolutely super. He laid down a lot of rubber driving off that corner. There's a lovely little
it's the same
stripe
place.
of slick, yeah.
Yeah, same place that Piquet got done by Prema, isn't he? Just see Piquet locked up into the apex, ran slightly wide, and allowed Lopez to jump into the space there.
Well, they were together right the way through this little sequence, and just kept it clean, thank goodness. 3 laps remaining, and Timo Glock is the man out front. And
comfortably now 6 seconds ahead.
And we can only assume that Lewis Hamilton did indeed change his tyres when he had his nose done.
Well, let's wait and see. We may be vindicated yet, Carlton.
We may be, and our apologies for any confusion that might have been. But we just didn't see the rubber go on, and there's nothing to tell us whether
well,
that
he shouldn't have done. I mean, he pitted at the end of lap 1. officially you can't change your 2 tyres that you have to change until
2 laps
lap
have been
2.
completed.
Exactly.
But I think it's laps completed by the lead.
It may well be, and I'm sure the rule book might be flying around later on, although maybe not, because Hamilton's not going to score points anyway. So
he's not. No. But and that is a very, very unusual.
Negrau's gone past Pantano.
And he's done him.
Pantano just seems defenceless, doesn't he? His tyres are thoroughly shot. All that locking up he's done, sliding around. 3 laps to go, they are gone. He's being eaten by the field, and to be honest, Gareth, with 3 laps remaining, what's the split between the chasers? Who's going to be next in line to have a go at it? Yeah, Di Grassi is 3 seconds down the road from Pantano, so...
Well, he could do that within a lap.
Yeah, the way Pantano's going is not beyond question, is it? And
so Yoshimoto, Yanni and Viso, their little battle suddenly gains more importance if Pantano is on the fade here. Although I have to say, he's, 14 seconds between them, and I think laps are running out for the chasers here. 2 laps to go here at Magny-Cours, and Lewis Hamilton, midfield at best, is going to be his finish. He's going to be out of the points. Timo Glock will be there, and the rest of the field are just going to have to battle away through for this one. And just looking into
sideways moment there.
It's getting very, very hairy in there. Look at this. Tight together. Who's going to get the switch off the corner? Oh, contact! Well, we were near predicting it with our eyebrows there. They were far in the back of our head. That's Amamula and Piccioni.
Yanni, I think it was Yanni and...
I think it's Amamula.
Oh, you're right, my mistake.
Yeah.
Shut up.
There you go. You had me worried there. The ticker was going on.
I'm not paying attention. I'm looking at the time screen.
So Gareth Rees is rejigged the timing screen, which had just crashed on us momentarily. Thankfully, it's back, and a huge lockup for Neil Yanni there.
That's Yanni, yeah, exactly.
Yanni stepping in for Nicolas Lapierre, who we wish him all the best. He's got vertebrae damage still.
Get on the grass.
And all of a sudden,
a bit rude.
Going cross-country, and not happy, Neil Yanni, at all. It's starting to go away from him here, big time.
Visa not giving him too much space. Now, it must be hard for Yanni. Don't forget, he's the 3rd driver for the Red Bull Racing F1 team on the Friday. So he's used to a car with a lot more grip, a lot more grunt.
Sure.
He gets in one of these things, it's like driving an ice, I should imagine.
Well, at least he has a busy weekend, and 41 laps is a very busy weekend. And Glock is our leader on the final lap here. Glock, Prema, they're the only 2 who've come across the line so far, with Lopez, Piquet Jr. and Negrau, Pantano, Di Grassi and Monfardini. And that little battle for that coveted 8th spot is going to go to Monfardini. Yoshimoto is a good 7 seconds or so adrift of that. It's been well, a metronomic, by the man whose name sounds like clock, performance here. He was on the front row of the grid. He got a tidy start. Lopez couldn't match him. Neither could Hamilton, who was just behind him. And Glock has just run away with this one, Gareth.
Yeah, I think it's been coming. I mean, since he made the switch to iSport from BCN a couple of races ago, he's been fantastically quick. Every session, qualifying, race, testing, he's been right up there. Clearly reveling in a car that suits his style. The setup of the car suits him much better than what he had at BCN. And I'm pleased for the BCN boys. And there's Hamilton being lapped.
Yes, as if to just add to his misery, Hamilton goes a lap down as Glock comes round on the final lap to actually nail this one. Super effort. He won here in 2003 in Euro F3. He knows the track, felt comfortable with it, and he's taken victory here. He crosses the line, so does Lewis Hamilton. Unfortunately for Lewis Hamilton, he's a lap down after damaging that nose early on. Prema heading for 2nd place, crosses the line now as he does. Lopez and Piquet Jr. are going to be next in that battle for the podium position. Great result for Glock, and a super result for iSport International as well. Lopez makes the podium, coming across the line now as he does. Piquet Jr. takes 4th, and the rest of the field starting to spin through. Negrau, Pantano in 6th place. Di Grassi finishes in 7th, and Monfardini will start tomorrow's race, the sprint race, on pole after finishing in 8th place ahead of Yoshimoto. Well, an interesting race, Gareth. You can hardly say it was the most dramatic, save for the opening few incidents that we had, but incidents there were.
Yeah, I mean, great day for iSport. I mean, that's their first feature race win. They've won 2 sprint races before this season. with Viso. That's their first feature race, the main race of the weekend. So really pleased for them. Yeah, not a classic race by any means, although I'm sure Glock won't see it that way.
I think Glock will be saying it's one of the finest races he's ever competed in.
And a shame for the championship that Piquet wasn't able to capitalise on Hamilton's problems. It would have been good for Piquet to score more, just for the sake of the championship, to close up the point situation.
Well, hats off to Paul Jackson and Neville Baker, who've done the business here. Timo Glock has taken it, and taken it in some style as well. We didn't see much of him because his gap was so significant out front, and we were concentrating on other battles. I think we dwelt just a little bit too long, I have to say, for my liking. We have no control of the pictures. We take what we can get. But Lewis Hamilton, well, finishing in front of Adam Carroll as he did, in positions 19 and 20. And well, the Ultimate is going to have a few words to say about that one, I think.
Well, the two of them are good mates, so I'm sure there'll be a little word, but nothing too serious.
Alexander Premat there, coming home today in second place. He'll be pleased, doing the dirty on Hamilton. Getting the better of him in this one, certainly. Yes, Lopez finishing in third place on the podium, with Piquet Jr. just edged out. Piquet Jr. just didn't look comfortable, and neither did Pantano today, did he?
No, neither of those two really had a race setup that was working, did they? Particularly Panto. He was really on the defensive the whole time. But fair play to Lopez. I mean, he had a bad pit stop. Lost 2 places to Premar and Piquet, and still made it back. So he had a good race, actually, and could have won it, actually, if he hadn't had those problems.
So confirmation of the result there. It'll be Monfardini and Di Grazzi who lead off row 1 tomorrow. The first 8 finishers will be reversed for the sprint race, and it's going to be a bit hairy. No stops, don't forget, and just 28 laps to contend with. It's an early start for us as well, Gareth.
It is indeed. Get the alarm clock set.
Excuse me, clear my throat. We had to wait a long time before we saw the Union Jacks, and indeed there they are. ART Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton finishing just ahead of Carroll, and the last 2 finishes today, just 20 completed, and it was a difficult day, and certainly an awful lot for them to think about, and a lot for Lewis Hamilton to think about. Doesn't like it here, doesn't like it one bit. Timo Glock making love to his machine. Well, he had the love machine today, didn't he? It was amazing. He just didn't put anything wrong. He was out there, and he was clearly quickest right the way through.
Yeah, he's done a great job ever since he joined Iceball. I know the team are delighted with him. He's got a great professional approach, and it's great for him and the team that he's won so early. Often it takes a little while for the two parties to gel, as it were. I mean, they've only been with each other since Silverstone. So they've had Silverstone, Ricard tests, and now they've won. So great performance. And
all hats off to the iSport boys, and of course they're based up in sunny Norfolk, just like myself.
They are.
Nice, tight, tidy operation, and today everything came together, and Timo Glock victorious. Good on you, lads. Weekend's work well done, most certainly. Now, strategy changes for this, and then anything to add for tomorrow's sprint race apart from just go for it?
Absolutely. No pit stops, just get on with it. Absolutely, get the hammer down.
Well, let's see how they pick their way through. It's been a pleasure to have your company at Magny-Cours. Thanks for your time indeed. And we've just got a few more minutes to play with you. Tomorrow's sprint race. It's going to be all about lockups early on, isn't it, here? If the temperatures stay the way they are.
It's different tomorrow. They start on brand new rubber, so they're on rubber that hasn't been through a heat cycle. So the important thing is to really try and look after the tyres in the earlier part of the race. It's 28 laps. It's much shorter than today's race. Still quite a long time. Cooler part of the day, so the wear won't be quite as bad, but it's still important that you don't go too hard too soon on those tyres.
On slicks this year, they're medium compounds. We'll see how they run tomorrow. The Drivers' Championship looks like this, and the gap between Hamilton and Piquet Jr. has been slashed. It was 22 points ahead of this one. It's now, if my maths is correct, down to 17. Well, that's good for any championship, and there is the remainder. We'll see how they run tomorrow. There'll be more live GP2 series action from Magny-Cours on Eurosport. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.